Believe it or not, but early voting begins May 19th. May 19th. Early voting for the June 28th primary begins. That's when they're going to start sending out, or at least allowing for people to request mail-in ballots. And also start talking to your local county clerk and find out ways to vote early. And with that, you've got the June 28th primary the day of. You got some choices out there. And the choices on the ballot range from, if you pull a Democratic ballot, you've got two choices for governor. Governor J.B. Pritzker, the incumbent, and being challenged by former U.S. Army veteran and Chicago area nurse Beverly Miles. On the Democrat side, you've also got a whole bunch of choices for Secretary of State. But on the Republican side, you also have choices in a variety of races from Attorney General all the way on up to governor, where there are 6 candidates vying for the Republican nomination. Now, voters out there, keep in mind, the primary, you have to declare a party. You can't grab a ballot and expect to vote for somebody on the Democrat side for Secretary of State and then somebody on the Republican side for governor. So just keep that in mind. It is a party primary that you have to declare publicly your party. But I think that it's going to be interesting to see the turnout because people are tuned in. They know what's going on, and they've been following closely. And a lot of debate being had about various issues from crime to the economy to corruption and more, even COVID-19 policies, all of that. But joining us now is one of the candidates who's vying for the Republican nomination for governor, and that is State Senator Darren Bailey. And Senator, thanks for taking time with us this morning on WMAY. You just recently were listed as the second top candidate for the 6 that are running for the GOP nomination. Your reaction to the recent polling we've seen. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. It's glad to be with you, and it's got a beautiful day on tap for Illinois, so the farmers are out doing their thing, getting the crops in the ground, so we're blessed for the day. So thank you, Greg. No, it depends on what poll you look at. There are polls that have been taken that suggest that I actually lead by a few points, but all of these polls are within the margin of error. I will tell you that we're ecstatic about this polling because when you've been outspent 39-1 by just ridiculous, vicious lies, it tells us that the people of Illinois are indeed awake, and the fact that a week ago, my opponent had $25 million dumped into his campaign on the eve of this poll being released. So they knew the exact same thing, and it tells me that they're a little frustrated that their lead. They didn't take the commanding lead that they thought they'd take because people are sick and tired of politics as usual. Number one. They're reading between the lies and the Democrat that's running for governor. Number two, my opponent, and number three, they know who I am, and I think that's what this poll shows. And I think in the coming days, when we start pushing back in the last 6 weeks, I think we're going to turn that around drastically, and the primary up. I think that's going to happen.
So when we look at the most recent poll, the WGN-TV poll, it does show, statewide that one of your opponents, Richard Irvin, Aurora Mayor, is leading. However, when you look at downstate, it actually flips. But we still have a third, if not more, of candidates, or rather potential voters for the Republican primary that say they're undecided. What's your campaign doing to capture that undecided vote and also address what's going on in Cook County and the suburbs in Chicago when it comes to likely GOP voters?
We're very concerned about, with a poll sometimes can be determined by the questions that are asked. A poll sometimes can be determined by the weightedness of where the questions are asked throughout the state. So we definitely have concerns with that. We look at the high unfavorability rating that my opponent has. We look at the low unfavorable rating that I have, and that's what we capitalize on. So I think anybody out there that knows who we are, and they're finding out who we are every day when you look at our website, BaileyForIllinois.com. You check our Facebook page out. Many people are agreeing that there is no one who has ever worked the state like Cindy and I and our campaign are. We are out and about multiple times every day. Started off yesterday in Moline and wound the day up in Peoria. We're in a different church every Sunday. So that's getting to the people. You know, this catering to the establishment, our failed Republican leadership. We're simply bypassing that because they're part of the problem. And so we're going to the people, the forgotten people of Illinois, and we believe at the end of the day that this grassroots movement will indeed pay off. We've had an infusion of funding ourselves, and we've been waiting for these final days. And so our messaging, the people that don't, those 30%, they are going to find out very quickly who we are, and I believe they're going to be I believe they're going to be casting their vote for me.
State Senator Darren Bailey with us on WMAY at 8:17. He is one of 6 Republicans vying for the GOP nomination, the June 28th primary. Early voting begins May 19th. That's pretty unbelievable, but true. So be prepared for that. Of course, just to mention the other candidates, you've got Aurora Mayor Richard Irvin, former State Senator Paul Schimpf, entrepreneur Jesse Sullivan, attorney Max Solomon, and businessman Gary Rabine. I want to get your reaction here before we take a break, and we're keeping you on until 8:30, but your reaction to Paul Schimpf. He's running, hoping to get the nomination, but he said that the recent rhetoric being used within the Republican Party could mean voters stay home because they're just turned off by words like hypocrite or liar or fraud or whatever the case may be being tossed around here. How do you address that?
Well, the Republican Party is certainly not doing itself any favors. All the way from what I've witnessed when I served in the House to the state party, we have problems as Republicans because we don't have leaders. We've got people put into those positions of leadership, and they're pandering to the Democrats. They won't stand up and make bold and courageous decisions. And I mean, that's why we find ourselves in the super minority in both parties. So, I love Paul to death, but what he's seeing in his fledgling campaign is just that. He's not able to empower the people. What I'm seeing is much different. I believe the people are going to show up. They're going to show up in mass and in force, and they're going to stand up against a failed party because people believe in our values and our platform, but unfortunately our party leaders and many of our elected officials that have that R behind their name, they're not exemplifying that, and they're looking for someone who is. So I think that the day of, we're going to see a pretty serious turnout for change, and I do believe, because that's what I'm seeing every day.
Before we take a break, State Senator Darren Bailey with us on WMAY. Our daily poll question actually asks about, if a candidate's endorsed by Donald Trump, is that going to sway your thoughts? We'll hear some of the results here during the commercial break, but do you anticipate getting an endorsement from former President Donald Trump?
I think of all the candidates that we certainly stand the best chance. And, there's many reasons. The recent endorsement of Steve Cortez on the Steve Bannon War Room show, that came out of nowhere. We were surprised and glad to see that. So if any Republican candidate's going to get it, it'll be us. And we're certainly hoping for that, and I'll be honest with you, we are expecting that. So,
State Senator Darren Bailey, stay with me. Got to take a break and hear more about what exactly you plan on doing if you're elected, and how you plan on managing a state that is dominated by Democrats in the state legislature. So stay tuned for that. We'll have more with State Senator Darren Bailey here on Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Back with State Senator Darren Bailey. He is one of 6 candidates vying for the GOP nomination for governor. Of course, you've got the June 28th primary, but early voting starts May 19th, believe that or not. Senator, thanks again for taking time with us this morning. Let's get into the issues here. Of course, you've got a state that's dominated in both chambers by the Democratic Party. If you were to get the nomination, how do you win over some of those people who may be on the fence? and heading into what could be, an election where Democrats are going to be leaning heavy into their messaging across the state. How do you combat that?
Well, you've been there, for my entire journey. You were, broadcasting when I primaried a tax hiking Republican, and the biggest reason for, the increased influence and ability to serve is because I've been communicating. I share daily for the most part on Facebook, and I tell people the truth. I tell them what's going on, what the problems are. I tell them what the solutions are, and we've simply got to take back. We've got to elect responsible people into office in order to create positive change for the state. And we're hearing that message even in the inner parts of Chicago. People are tired, but they just haven't heard a conservative message. They haven't ever found someone they could put their trust in, because many times when people get elected into a position, they begin to waffle and waver, and they don't carry through with what they said. And so standing up to the people, all of the people, and conveying the problems and offering the solutions. I think I talked to many Democrats that would, love to be a part of that, but unfortunately, this overarching power structure that was Madigan, that's now Pritzker, for many politicians, this has turned into a career, and if they don't bow to the needs of the leader, then they don't get reelected. So I think there's going to be great freedom in someone who's going to stand up and offer the positive solutions to the state. And we all know that this republic that we enjoy, this freedom that we enjoy, was fought for and established by people. It's been preserved by people. And where we're at today, it's the people, it's we the people that's going to keep it. So I sure look forward to, there's going to be a lot of pink slips go out the first day of my administration, and there's going to be men and women who are going to be hired, who have business sense, who have common sense, who have a backbone, and are going to come up with real plans, real solutions, and most importantly, will implement those to protect the children, to protect the police, to protect our streets, protect our schools, and protect our pocketbooks.
What do you think heading into the election? Of course, May 19th is right around the corner. The June 28th primary is the final day. But what do you think is going to be on the minds of voters as they head into the ballot box? You've got abortion that's obviously a big national issue. You've got crime in Chicago with some just incredible, frightening images coming out of there. But also you've got the issue of the economy and the state of Illinois losing population. What do you think is going to be the top issue on voters' minds when they head into the polls?
Well, there's no doubt. I still believe it's public safety. I believe it's failing schools, and I believe it's high taxes. Those three very important issues were hijacked recently by this this abortion leak out of the Supreme Court. And I think that was dangerous. I think that was planned, and I hope it gets dealt with. But with that being said, we've got the message for that as well. We've got the message to the people. The abortion people come to me. Well, how do you feel about abortion? And that's what I love to tell people. I said, making abortion illegal is not necessarily the answer. Making abortion unnecessary is, and I don't hear anyone else standing up with that message, trying to empower churches, civic groups to combat this problem, which is an issue of death ultimately. So, but yeah, schools. To your point, people are frustrated and they are fed up. And I am hearing that every day on the campaign trail all over the state, and especially downtown Chicago and on the south side, on the west side. So there's every reason in the world for people to stand up and vote for change, vote for something different. And I think we're going to capture that because Richard Irvin's campaign has offered absolutely nothing but confusion right along with the Democrats, and people are smart. They're seeing that and they're reading into that.
State Senator Darren Bailey, greatly appreciate your time. We'll likely talk again before June 28th, so be safe out there, all right?
Have a safe day and a great weekend. God bless you guys. Thanks.
It is Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News.